This is our first webinar this year, and we have many innovations. Our agency has a new name, as you already know, European Union Drugs Agency. Our sector has a new name, Health and Social Responses. And we have a new colleague on board organizing the webinar with me, Anna Ferrara. So today we will talk about low threshold employment programs and to see how this can be an entry point for social reintegration. The fact that our sector changed the name gives us more inspiration to look into the interventions for drugs-related issues in a holistic way, spanning from prevention to social reintegration, with the main objective of creating as many opportunities as possible for people where they are in this moment to join and to reach the full potential in their lives. So this is the reason why today we want to talk about these interventions with our three guests, Jean-Hugues Moral from Tapagé, and then Tony Duffy from Anne Liffey, and Oriol Esculier and Manuel de la Cruz Rodriguez from Progetto Hombre. They will present three different approaches to the same objective that, as we said before, are people-centered interventions where people is met where they are in this moment, helped to reach their full potential, their full opportunities for their life. And I would like to start with our first guest, Jean-Hugues Moral from Tapagé. And please introduce yourself better than I did with my pronunciation, and tell us about the project your organization offer to clients. So you can describe your intervention, the main concept, and the target population you address. Please, Jean-Hugues.
Okay, thanks. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jean-Hugues Morales, and I'm the director of Tapage France. So I'm French, and my apology for my English, which is not good and has been out of practice for too long. Sorry, so I might struggle to find my words, or I might have trouble. You might have trouble to understanding my English with my French accent. So once again, I apologize for that. But most important, let's talk about Tapage. Maybe you can see the PowerPoint. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Tapage. Tapage stands for Travail Alternatif Payé à la Journée, which means alternative work paid by the day. It's a program that gives young people in precarious situations immediate and flexible work opportunities. The goal is simple. Offer them an alternative to unstable environments by allowing them to work, earn money legally, and get support for their personal challenges. Tapage is for young people aged to 16 to 25, yes. So people who are homeless, socially disconnected, and struggling with addiction. Many of them live on the streets, of course, and cannot access traditional services. So how does it work? Well, Tapage is a program with an harm reduction approach. This means, as Marika says, you know, that we do not require young people to stop their substance use or change their lives. In fact, the program has three simple steps. First one, oh, thanks. First one, and first of all, an immediate work access through street educators, care centers, or phone calls, allowing young people to start working on a 4-hour project the next day and get paid the same day. And that's the crucial distinction for me. The immediate impact during this initial phase is all about action and providing quick and tangible support for the next step. So on the second stage, thanks, Well, after Tapageur, as they named it, after Tapageur start working, we help them step by step with professionals from the care center, followed by tailored support plans covering administrative, health, social, housing, and justice needs. During this phase, and during the last phase, the third phase, yes, thanks. During this phase, we increase working hours and expand the network of partners for professional integration projects or other specific initiatives that support a shift in the Tapageur life trajectory. This low threshold approach make it easy for young people to enter the program without pressure, while gradually we're helping them improve their situation, in fact. So, in fact, tapage has been evaluated through multiple studies in France and Quebec, 5 in the last 10 years, yes. Well, perhaps Dr. Priest, who is president of Mildeca, will want to revisit those topics later. But in fact, all evaluations found that tapage had a significant positive impact on the young participants. Tapage increased access to mental health and addiction services while reducing risky behaviors. Yes, I don't have the. Can you go to the other slide, please? Oh no, it's perfect. This one is perfect. Sorry. Well, more specifically, yes, perfect. This is a good slide. Sorry. More specifically, the outcomes of the second evaluation highlights the significant impacts of young people lives. This graph presents a trajectory analysis based on 8 criteria: administration, housing, lifestyle, personality, work, consumption, hygiene, and health. The data is divided into 3 periods: before, during, and after tapage. All criteria show positive progress with the tapage program. This confirms the positive impact of the program on medico-social levels. Well, these results come from our own national observatory, based on a common reporting software used by all members, 75 members, in fact. We will see it later. They are from the period of the poverty reduction strategy in France, which have remained stable then. As you can see, over 4,300 young people benefited from the program between 2020 and 2022. And we have 72% of young people engaging in addiction treatment beyond the harm reduction approach. But also 52% received support related to their judicial situation. 59% saw their housing situation resolved. And 44% of program exits are considered employment successes. So in our opinion, it shows also the comprehensive support tapage provides. But on the next slide, we will see that we have more than 300 companies and organizations who collaborate with tapage. It includes major corporations like Auchan, Vinci, SNCF, Keolis, Suez, companies with which we signed national agreements. But I would like to clarify that tapage also collaborates with small enterprises, local authorities, and associations to offer tailored work opportunities to young people in difficulty. Overall, enterprises play a vital role in supporting tapage missions by offering work opportunities, of course, but also supporting social responsibility, collaborating with social services, and contributing to our local development. Their participation is essential for the program success. Well, Tapage France, the next is perfect. Tapage France is an association created in 2000. Oh, sorry. Can we go before? One more. I would like to hand and speak about Tapage France. Yes, who is an association created in 2016 with the support of Mildeka. Thank you. We have to structure, animate, and develop the Tapage network in France, and our association collaborates with the broadcast ecosystem, including French government, of course, but also national associative networks, private and public companies, and foundations, are also local authorities, of course. Well, Tapage, the Tapage program is designed to be flexible and immediate, providing practical support and building trust with young people. So Tapage is not just about work. It's an holistic program addressing health, social inclusion, and long-term empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you to you, Jean-Hugues. No need to apologize for our English. English is just a way to communicate, and our accents are the colors of our community. So I am sure there are a lot of questions, and I invite our participants to keep their questions for the questions and answers part of our tool, so that at the end we can consider. And I would now give the floor to Tony for introducing himself. He's an old friend of ours, already participating in many webinars. And Tony, you can also address the initiatives of your organization on the same direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Marika. And I will also apologize for my English, although I have no excuse. It's my primary language, but I have no slides, so forgive me. You're going to have to look at me as I talk to you, but that was intentional, to have no slides. I want to talk through this with you. You'll probably see my thought process manifest in front of you all. But anyway, just in terms of the main question, low threshold employment programs, can they be social reintegration gateways? I think absolutely the answer is yes. We're going to get down into the detail. I'm pleased to say Jean-Hugues' presentation, there's already themes that are coming across that I can see already. But just to explain who Analifi Drug Project is, we're based in Ireland. We are a low threshold harm reduction agency, and that's our ethos. We provide services in Dublin City, Balbriggan, and in the Midwest region of Ireland, around Limerick City and further afield in the Midwest. We are a harm reduction service, so we provide things like sterile needles and crack pipes, overdose prevention, including naloxone, training and product supported. All of this is supported by the HSE, a Health Service Executive. We provide case management. We work with people on the 12 areas of their lives and support them to achieve their self-defined goals. We provide psychosocial supports for community detox. We do outreach, we do in-reach, we do group work, we have a nursing team, we have GP surgeries, and we do work with the police on Garda Síochána. They make referrals directly to us in Dublin and in Limerick City, and that's a whole other presentation. But that's the essence of Analifi. In terms of low threshold employment, I just want to acknowledge the community employment schemes in Ireland and the many other services that are provided across Ireland that support people into employment. The Community Employment Drugs and Rehabilitation Scheme that exists in Ireland help people recovering from drug use by offering training, support, and a path back to work and community life. Unlike the regular community employment programs, these schemes focus on rehabilitation first, with ongoing addiction support and personal development. There are dedicated places with special rules, like starting from age 18, staying for up to 3 years, and getting training without strict job requirements. Each person follows a personal plan to track, progress, aiming for better health skills and future opportunities. And I just want to acknowledge that work and the work of others before I talk about what we're working on at Analythi, because there is a rich history of trying to get people back into employment, indeed getting people back into employment. But the question for now is, who do we work with? And unlike my colleague at Tapaj, we're working with over 18-year-olds, older people, people who are street involved. They may face unstable living conditions due to economic, social, and health-related challenges. The street involved, the term encompasses people experiencing various forms of homelessness, including those at risk due to complex social and health issues like mental health conditions, substance use disorders, and a history of trauma. People who are street involved often experience overlapping disadvantages, which can include stigma, systematic exclusion, and severe health disparities compared to the general population. And also the term street involved typically refers to individuals who engage in life patterns linked to homelessness, such as sleeping rough, short prison terms, staying in temporary accommodation, using day centres, and indeed who are unemployed. So we're talking about a group of people with really complex needs, multiple complex needs, and they are our target group. From Analythi's perspective, in terms of how we approach things, the underpinning principles of our work, we are low threshold, as I mentioned, and just to acknowledge that, so we don't see there is no such thing as hard to reach people, just hard to reach services. Ensuring that services are accessible and fit for purpose is of critical importance. In this regard, providing services that are low threshold is an important principle. Services that ensure that barriers to availing of a service are kept as low as possible. And of course, low threshold is traditionally known to be related to harm reduction services. But of course, we do more than that. We promote and build recovery capital, which includes cultural, personal, social, and community resources that support recovery. And we do that at a very early stage. Indeed, we're doing a piece of research. My colleague, Dawn Russell, is doing a piece of research around building recovery capital for people the people I've described in terms of the target cohort. And then co-production, and I'll talk more about co-production later at the webinar, but co-design and co-delivery of services involves actively engaging individuals with living and lived experience of drug use, and in the development of implementation of programs and interventions. And that's what I want to talk a bit more about later. But yes, being trauma informed. I've mentioned people being trauma, so we work from a trauma informed perspective, and of course that's very important in terms of helping people to heal and progress. And then, really importantly, diversity. We all know that diversity, equality, and inclusion is under attack across the world, and for our part, we're doubling down on diversity, equality, and inclusion. EU law prohibits discrimination based on factors like race, sex, disability, or age, covering all aspects of service delivery. And diversity drives creativity, teamwork, and innovation, improving decision-making, job satisfaction, and an organization's reputation. And I think it's really important to mention that today. And I think it's really important from the point of view of involving people who use drugs as part of that diversity. So just in terms of the model that I want to talk to you about, I'll be quick because I know time is against us. But in Analythi's 2024 to 2029 strategic plan, it's a transformational approach. We do expect by 2029 that Analythi will be quite different across a number of our goals. But the one to talk to you today about is we want to implement service user co-production across all services. And we will commission research on co-designing and co-delivering our services with our service users, and we will implement the findings. And that's the low threshold employment that I want to talk to you about as we go through the webinar. And then just in terms of low threshold employment and co-production, low threshold principles, we're expecting to be flexible in our hours, peer support, and no mandatory drug tests. You know, these are the kind of principles that we're looking towards and we'll be developing. Co-production and co-delivery includes people who use drugs to co-design and co-facilitate the services. So we will be working alongside increasingly, because we do this already, but increasingly be working alongside people who use drugs to help deliver and facilitate our services. And then we will pay people, importantly, people who use drugs for their time. And we do that, and we're working through, it's going to be something to talk about in the next part of the webinar, but we will pay people for their time. And that reduces stigma and validates people's contributions, which is really important. So I know I've sort of moved through quickly, and I hope it wasn't too quick, but today I want to talk about, you know, co-production, co-design, paying people who use drugs, paying people and working with people who have essentially very often given up on themselves and don't see themselves perhaps worthy of looking for employment, and how we can help them in any way possible. So thank you very much.
Thank you to you, Tony. This is very good to hear all these principles that are in fact not only in our drug strategy, but also in the new mandate, where we are increasingly asked to collaborate with the civil society organizations. So we see that is an improvement for the individual lives, for the communities, including for the security, because it reduces the need for illegal activities to finance their own life. I would move towards our other guests, Manuel and Oriol, for presenting themselves and then their project at Progetto Hombre. Go ahead, please.
Well, thank you so much, all of you. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for the invitation, and I really recognize the pertinence and successful EUDA webinars that you are undertaking for a long time. We come from an NGO, a large NGO called Progetto Hombre in Spain. Over the last 40 years, we have been working on drug use prevention, treatment, and social reintegration. I'm more responsible for international affairs and Manuel for national affairs, so that's why we are working in couple today. And regardless of the economic cycle in Spain, and I guess it happens the same in many other countries, we always have a high level of structural and systemic unemployment, particularly affecting young people, older people, or several specific groups, vulnerable groups. And this project that we are going to present today very briefly, called INSOLA, it's a big project, aims at fostering employment for people with substance use disorders in Spain. You probably know that one of the greatest protective factors during the treatment and rehabilitation recovery journey of a person with substance use disorders is basically having a decent and lasting job. I will just pass to Manuel. I will intervene later in the second and third round, but Manuel is actually responsible for coordinating this INSOLA project at the national level.
Thank you, Oriol, and thank you all. It's a really pleasure to me to talk about the INSOLA project here, an initiative to arise and address the structural problem you just mentioned, only focusing on the people with addiction problems. Can we see the presentation? Okay. Okay, then, so to properly size this project, is essential to understand the profile of the people in treatment in Progetto Hombre. In general terms, female users have an average age of 42 years old, are mostly singles, and 10.2% of them live alone with the children. Instead, men are the same age, approximately same age, 40 years old, mostly single, but the 24.6% of them live with a partner and a children. So there's a little difference between them. You can take all this data from the Proyecto Hombre Observatory of the year 2023, published the last year. For those who wish to delve deeper into the report, you can take them in the QR code you have on the left corner lower. So regarding the employability, there are key aspects to consider here. So 66.5% of the people we attend in Proyecto Hombre have had a job in the last 3 years. However, there's a marked labor precariousness in women's, with only the 50.1% of them have a full-time job. So that's something we must be looking at when we try to work with the labor of these women's. Another relevant fact of the employment is that the situation when the people enters in Proyecto Hombre to have their treatment changed drastically, because the employment is deeply reduced. As you can see, the percentage of those who are economically dependent on their jobs is completely dropped, going from 66.5% in men's to 41%, and in women's is even more deeper, 50.1% to 28.5%. This forces us to think about what is exactly going on with the people that use or have an abuse problem with drugs. So this phenomenon, what do is highlight the accelerated job loss in people with addiction problems, which underlines the needs of comprehensively address job reintegration as a part of the recovery process, not a part of them being integrated in the same rehabilitation program. Okay, so going deeper into the Insola project. Okay, so who are the people we attend here in Insola project? There are 3 large groups, which are the inactive individuals, which have a really potential to be integrated in a long-term labor. As you can see, there are so many people attended here. We can attend young and minor, plus to 16 years old. Even in prisons, we are attending individuals deprived of liberty and also chronically addicted individuals. We also attend individuals facing job precarity or long-term unemployment for those people who have severe addiction-related deterioration, and individuals whose job is in risk. They have a job, but that job is completely in a situation of risk because of the substance use. Okay, so okay, so what do we do within Sola Project? Our inner focus is to support these people in addiction problem and achieve this social and labor reintegration. And we do it through a unique way of thinking or approach about the biological, psychological, and also the social structure or areas of these people. Our key objective is to develop personalized plan to enhance employability and promote the integration in all areas of their life. Focusing in this project, or we organize this project in 4 stages or 4 phases. The first one is motivation, is just for your knowledge, when the people just arrived Proyecto Hombre. And we have to motivate them, we have to teach them how important is the job for their lives, for their integration in their whole life. Then the second phase is the orientation and personalized plan, where we focus on the interest of the people, of the problem that these people have maybe in the job they're having right now. You know, is quite difficult to understand this because the project Insola attends so much people, and you may see that in the numbers later. But then you have the third phase, is about the skill development and training. This phase is focused on those skills that are completely involved in the job, just like responsibility, organization, social skills. And then the last one is the specialized guidance. This one is focused on working with the people to prepare an interview, to job searching, maybe through internet, through portal on internet, because one thing that we believe is that that job training must be to give these persons the full autonomy of their lives. So is completely focused on stop depending on us, stop depending on Proyecto Hombre, on the treatment, and start depending on themselves and their jobs. Okay, so what are the core goals of this project? We have 5 core goals. First of all, achieving the financial stability. That's obvious for us. Then preventing the relapses, active social participation, a healthy social participation, fostering autonomy and growth, and expanding the social networks of these people. But how can we do the project in SOLA viable? Because this is a really huge project. Almost 23 centers of Proyecto Hombre are doing the project right now. Is really a huge amount of professionals, of users that needs to be needs to have a space to do all of this. So there is a budget of 29 million euros between the years 2023 and 2029. So as you can see, this is a really huge amount of money. But we gotta thank the European Social Fund that found us with almost more than 20 million euros to do this, and also other funds, just like the Ministry of Social Rights or maybe different local statements. So that's how we make it possible. And for me, one of the most important things to talk about the project in SOLA is what is the impact of our initiative. The impact is really huge. 42% of the people that participate in Project in SOLA secures a job or improve their employment situation, because you know that what I was talking about, the risk, 6 months after completing in SOLA. And also 33.56 enroll in the educational system or obtain a professional certification. So there is no stop for these people when they are in the project in SOLA. Later, 6 months later, they still are developing these skills, obtaining jobs, obtaining certificates, and that's progress, and that's true integration. So we have already attended more than, you can check the numbers there, but our core goal, what we want to attend, is over 28,000 people, individuals attended by 2029. So you can figure with this percentage how much people with addiction problem may obtain a job when they finish the whole treatment in Proyecto Hombre. Also, one thing that is very important for us to tell is the investing change, the social return that our project have. This was measured in 2016. We are now developing a new one. And as you can see, per €1 invested, there's a social return of 5.19 euros. So there is such a high value, really high value to the things that we do in this project, and also a value for the Insola users, for the family, for the public administration. So I don't know, if I was a public administration, I will be putting my money for this, using my money for this. This is a real value, and also a little bit is valuable for Proyecto Hombre. But for me, the most important part is the value of the impact that we cannot measure. The impact of a person recovering his life, or a man, a mother, for example, no, that can see his children again recovering his life, or maybe all these people that can live a really autonomy life, or a life with employment without the threat of drugs addiction. So this is Insola Plus, and this is Proyecto Hombre.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm sure there are many questions from the public, but we will take all at the end of our conversation. And I would move now to the next question. We can have the same round of speakers. So Jean-Hugues, can you tell us what are the lessons learned from your experience? bearing in mind our audience? What are the lessons learned from the others to learn from your experience? Shanyuk.
Yes, as you wish, Marika. Maybe we can start with a short video, or I can give you a response. Yes, thanks.
Monsieur Macuche, j'ai 23 ans et c'est mon premier chantier en tant que tapageur.
Je suis Aurélien Dorané, donc je suis infirmier au XAPA Le Triangle depuis mars 2020.
Alors moi c'est Pierre Dupont, on m'appelle Pierrot. Mais ouais, ça fait 2 ans que je suis à tapage.
Antoine Ruel, je suis travailleur social au Carru de la Côté.
Je m'appelle Laure-Hélène Reguessé et je suis en service civique chez Bénénova Nantes.
Principalement à la base c'était parce que j'avais besoin d'argent. C'était pour acheter ma cam. Et après par envie, besoin de faire quelque chose.
Les personnes à la rue ou les personnes dans les consommations ont peu de perspectives, ont du mal à imaginer l'avenir autrement que sous le prisme des consommations, de la rue, de tout ce qui va avec la violence.
Pour reprendre un rythme, parce que comparé à un CDI ou un CDD, c'est des petites missions d'une demi-journée ou de 3 jours, donc on va dire que voilà, c'est plus simple.
Et ils ont cette capacité à réapprendre à se projeter beaucoup plus rapidement et c'est super chouette.
Ça m'a quand même redonné de l'espoir pour m'en sortir et puis ouais. Enfin ouais.
Ce qui m'a motivé, c'est les entretiens côte à côte qu'on peut avoir avec les jeunes. On n'est plus derrière un bureau. Il y a beaucoup de choses qui sont dites et des paroles qui sont libérées. Et ça te permet d'être égal à égal.
Il y a une vraie logique là-dedans, sur les jeunes, sur d'éviter l'ancrage dans l'errance, l'ancrage dans les consommations et proposer des perspectives.
J'ai réussi à tout arrêter et puis je continue quand même maintenant à faire tapage parce que j'ai envie d'apprendre, j'ai envie de... Enfin, j'aime bien, il y a une bonne ambiance, il n'y a aucun jugement et puis ça se passe bien.
Ça se passe très très bien et nous en service civique en fait on travaille au même titre qu'eux sur ces actions. Et au-delà du travail en fait, c'est aussi pouvoir partager un moment avec eux et créer du lien social avec eux en fait.
Du coup moi c'est Cassie, j'ai 24 ans, je suis sur tapage depuis mes 19 ans environ. Alors en fait l'application elle nous sert à envoyer à ceux qui sont en haut quoi, où est-ce qu'on laisse les sacs qui sont pleins. On peut aussi leur dire où est-ce qu'il y a des encombrants par exemple pour prendre des photos, leur envoyer. C'est géocalisé comme ça une autre équipe après vient pour ramasser les sacs ou nettoyer les encombrants tout simplement. Ça m'a permis d'arrêter de faire la manche. De pouvoir mettre de côté pour m'acheter un camion et ne plus être dehors. Voilà.
Tapage pour moi c'est très particulier parce que tapage est assez unique. Tapage adresse un public en grande difficulté et permet à des entreprises comme Suez de renforcer considérablement son impact social tout en opérant ses marchés de manière qualitative. Justement, ça fait partie de ce que je trouve intéressant chez Tapage, c'est que vous adressez un public qui est un peu à l'écart ou à la marge de toute la politique d'insertion par l'activité économique. Et donc, vous êtes une marge qui n'existait pas. Et donc, si les méthodes, les solutions, l'accompagnement de Tapage peut correspondre à certains publics ou s'appliquer, on parlait des prisonniers, la réinsertion des prisonniers, on parlait des jeunes en grande difficulté dans les quartiers. Si les solutions de Tapage, la logique de tapage peut être efficace, je pense qu'on a besoin aussi de bouger un peu les lignes pour innover dans le secteur de l'insertion, c'est sûr.
So thank you for this video. Nice also to listen to French. There were subtitles, so I hope our audience was able to understand, but at least we listen to more languages. What are the lessons learned, Januk? Also we listen a lot about the success which were the obstacles and the difficulties in 2 words?
2 or 3 words. Well, in fact, Tapage faces a lot of challenges, but we can focus today on 3 main challenges, perhaps. First of all, I think that we need to build trust with the target population, of course, but also partners, in fact. And yes, you know that many young people in precarious situations don't trust in institutions or programs. So in Tapage, we decided to follow a harm reduction approach. We meet them where they are, offer flexible, no barrier access, and support them as they move forward on their own pace, in fact. And this is key to engagement for us. And on the other side, it's important to build trust with our partners. Also, we keep the process simple, and low threshold approach is also for them, of course. We show our commitment to helping young people, and we work closely with them, in fact. Well, another challenge I would like to highlight is securing funding, but because you have to know that actually Tapage programs are not fully government funded, and it's cool. In fact, we use an hybrid economic model. We also receive funding from private businesses, local authorities, non-governmental organizations, European programs like Erasmus Plus or others. And this makes the program more stable and more independent. But also, it offers a variety of different jobs for Tapagers. And that's the reason why we built Tapage in France from the very beginning with this hybrid economic model. And that's a great interest.
Thank you. I also keep my questions for me. Have you finished? Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Tony, can you tell us what are your lessons learned from your projects? Thank you.
Sure. Jean Lucas, I just want to agree with you about the low threshold nature and the people's pace in terms of their own pace. But the important thing is that there is that things are achieved, and that is not just down to them. That is down to the people that work with them. So professionals must not let people down. That's really important. There should be no slippage. If you understand, sometimes if a professional hasn't done what they said they will do, then that feeds into the person's lack of self-belief or self-efficacy or worth. But yes, no, sorry, go back to Anna Liffey. We began, as I say, in 1982, and we have always valued the knowledge and expertise of peers, peer-to-peer work. We haven't always paid people for that work because we didn't have the resources to, perhaps, but also there was all sorts of reasons, I guess, over the years. But from a very early stage, our work around harm reduction and such believed in peer-to-peer work. As I say, more recently, we began to pay people for their involvement, say, in research. Down in Limerick, we recently did a piece of research on cocaine, and of the respondents, everybody was paid for involvement in that research, which can be controversial depending on the university you're working with. But certainly valuing people's expertise is really important, and paying them for their time. And we pay people for providing other forms of expertise. For example, more recently, people that we work with, people who use drugs, have engaged with the Department of Health to feed into the National Drug Strategy. And again, they were paid for their time and their expertise. And these are just a couple of examples as to what we're doing around paying people. But certainly, I think that the engagement in work and valuing a person's time and paying them is so important. One of my colleagues, one of the peers, was explaining to me that they had recently lost a friend and that they had gone in on themselves, and they had sort of remove themselves from the outside world, and this work was bringing them back out. They were feeling valued and they were getting a lot more back out. And these are small steps, because I'm not talking about full-time employment. I'm talking about paying people for a day or two of their time. But those things are really important. That's a lesson we've learned. Low threshold employment, or indeed co-production, as we've said, meets people where they are at. Reducing risks without mandating abstinence is really important. The benefits of employment reduces reliance on high-risk strategies. So one of the participants in the video talked about not having to beg because they now had money from work. People will not have to do sex work, perhaps, if they're or drug dealing. So high-risk strategies can be reduced because people are getting money another way. It provides structure and mental health support. As I mentioned, somebody coming back into the rest of the world from withdrawing from the world. It builds confidence and autonomy. So that's a great thing to be able to say about someone or anybody, but particularly about somebody who is having difficulty with drug use. And it supports social inclusion. So they're just some observations about what we've learned about it and why it's so important. I think if somebody's come to this webinar and was unsure about the importance of low threshold employment, I hope they leave with a renewed vigor for it. Yeah,
I'm sure. Thank you very much. Manuel and Oriol, would you like to say something about what you learned from your experience?
Yes, well, I'll just share maybe three challenges and what we have done to partially address it. First, socially responsible companies. In an ideal world, companies would come to us to offer all jobs our people need. This is not the case. Then we must go to them and convince them that they have a social responsibility, but they will also gain by hiring people with substance use disorders. Unfortunately, stigmatization is still there, so there's a lot of work to do. Corporate social responsibility is built with a proactive strategy that requires time, resources, and the ability to engage and intermediate with companies. We even have a specific post for this task called Job Inserter. Secondly, believe it or not, administrative management complexity. With such a big project, we are helping many people, as you saw, many activities, long itineraries, sometimes for years. The administrative processes involve a substantial volume of documentation. In addition, being an European Union project, the number of forms is extremely high due to accountable reasons. Indeed, this is the main challenge pointed out by our staff when you ask them. Even a few regional centers from our association have abandoned this project because of that. So it's very challenging, and addressing it's not only blaming and complaining to the EU that they should simplify requirements on documentation, but being innovative ourselves to provide effective solutions to this challenge. As an example, a very recent additional project called Omega Next, also funded by the European Social Fund, is incorporating artificial intelligence to streamline data management processes and documentation handling, which is very important. On the other hand, as also Manuel noticed before, Omega Next will enable us to develop a new SROI, social return of investment study, but larger with updated information from the previous 6 years period implementation. And lastly, a lack of accredited education with frequent training opportunities. So this is an evident need for regulating personalized training programs for these populations in Spain, while providing frequent opportunities for enrolling to public training courses. Individuals under treatment cannot wait for half a year, so to speak, to start being trained. So trainings must be frequently provided and certified. Again, addressing it by demanding the official bodies to facilitate accreditations for these training programs is of course necessary, but we can also do things like fostering. We are incorporating online training is another way to also be more effective by offering flexible remote learning opportunities to not only overcome geographical constraints, but provide more frequent learning easily. And now I would like to share just a very nice 1-minute video subtitled in English that we use to promote the Insola project in Spanish media, in where the two major protagonists are highlighted, the person and the company.
Me dedico a llevar el inventario y almacén de una empresa textil y creo que es el mejor trabajo del mundo. No es por el horario, odio madrugar. Desde luego, no es por el café de la máquina, no son las vistas de mi lugar de trabajo. Ni siquiera es por mis compañeros y compañeras, aunque tengo que reconocer que no lo pasamos mal. En realidad, creo que es el mejor trabajo del mundo porque me recuerda que si estoy aquí es porque he sido capaz de dejar atrás las adicciones.
Fine, so this is touching because, of course, it's a person, but representing a lot of people, but the importance of engaging social responsible companies. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you. I get easily moved. There is the last question, and I would like to throw the question to you three without giving orders of responses. And is about, do you think that other countries that probably don't have in this moment similar approaches could develop them? And what would be your suggestions, your tips for success? Start freely, who wants to chip in?
Well, maybe I can start.
Yes,
because, yes, in fact, Tapage has already been successfully implemented in France and in Canada, where I'm vice president of Tapage Quebec, which operate in 12 territories, in fact. So yes, Tapage can be adapted to other countries because it's flexible and can be adjusted to different economic and social systems. And it works with existing social structures like addiction centers, homeless services, or employment programs. First of all, I think you have to understand the local context. Each country has different labor laws, social policies, and economic challenges, and you have to have a tailored accordingly program. Also, it's not just a suggestion. In fact, you have to maintain an harm reduction principle, keep low entire barriers, focusing on gradual reintegrations. But I would like to suggest to start with a strong pilot project, and after that you can maybe focus on flexibility and scalability. But yes. I will end by telling that you have also to leverage lesson learning, perhaps, because Tapage France provides valuable examples of how the model can work in diverse contexts. So maybe we can have a partnership with Tapage France who can provide practical support for new implementations, and it will be our pleasure, of course.
Yeah, thank you. We run these webinars also to create connections among professionals. Anybody else? Manuel, Oriol, Tony, any other?
Tony.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I think the models that my colleagues have presented could work very well in Ireland. I've said there are examples in Ireland, but I do think that there's in terms of businesses employing people who use drugs, having that type of low threshold employment that's been described here, we need more businesses to get on board. So we do need to invest in educating and employers and the public in terms of campaigns that challenge stigma and encourage employers to come to the table. So that would be a big piece for us in Ireland in terms of getting businesses on board. In terms of the model I'm talking about, in terms of co-production, I don't think it's unique to Analythi. I think that there are models across Europe and further afield. that exist. It's just that it's difficult to get it right. And there are good models, and there are people who are trying to let people know about their great models. I visited the drug consumption room in New York recently, and they have a great model in terms of co-production. It's hard work to get it right, but they have a great model there. Yeah, I think one of the big challenges for us in terms of that model is to have sustainable funding for long-term program development, budgets to pay people who use drugs to work alongside us. Yeah, so there's just a couple of challenges, but absolutely it can be replicated elsewhere. Yeah, and I think involving and compensating people who use drugs creates safer and healthier communities, because people are engaging in a pro-social way, which is great. Yeah.
Thank you. Oriol.
Yes, thank you. Well, we were discussing with Manuel to share a couple of aspects that we have to be very aware in order to avoid failing. Of course, I think our project can be replicated in other countries, but first, assuming that this is a big and sustained project encompassing a lot of people in many territories, only big organizations can probably cope with this, or smaller or in institutions, entities, but working in partnership with other expert institutions by establishing networks to work collectively for the same goals. And I think that Tapaj and Tony's institution's approach are paramount examples of that. So I really liked to be also here listening to them. And secondly, when it comes to European Union funding, and it might happen the same in other world regions, most of the grants payments, it's very practical, arrive after the activity has been undertaken, even a year or 2 years later. Probably solvent and credit-worthy organizations only can handle such strong cash flow tensions, and this is not that we foresee that. We share this because it's a big concern, that because it has happened to us several times with some of our regional foundations. So these big projects that are having a lasting impactful, but that must be sustained over time, need also strong organizations or strong networks to make it happen.
I have a question for the three of you before we move to the questions from the public. Have you ever experienced negative reactions from the communities, from the town, in fact, criticizing or not trusting, or did you manage these things? How did you manage?
I'll jump in there. Then absolutely, people who use drugs face stigma every day of the week here in Ireland, and over the years, certainly in the media, they are portrayed as criminals and such. So, of course, you have people who don't want drug services in their area, or people who use drugs working alongside them. That's not true of everybody, obviously. Lots of people are very understanding and inclusive and such. But it is absolutely a challenge. And the way to deal with that is to engage with people and to introduce people as human beings alongside each other. That's how you move things along. I don't think that's naive. I think that's just the human nature. If you don't know people, you just fill in the gaps and believe what you read. So there's a lot of work to be done, but it's at that very interpersonal level, and being good neighbours and being good work colleagues. It's all very important. I would just say that whilst we were talking earlier, it just struck me that there was somebody in the video earlier was talking about being homeless. Housing is a huge issue for people. So jobs and housing, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. people are no different to you and I. They need somewhere to live. It's very difficult to hold down a job if your housing is unstable, you know. So that's just really important to mention.
Anybody else wants to comment on the risks of negative reactions from the communities?
Well, I would add maybe, I totally agree with what Tony said, that experiencing usually helps. So there are a lot of stigma, but it has to do also with prejudices or irrational ideas or no. And then when, I mean, like companies start experiencing hiring people and they can have problems or not as any other person in the world, you know. So that usually helps to have a better picture of reality and also fighting against stigma. And yes, I also agree on the importance of housing. Today, employments, at least in Spain, the salaries are very low compared to the cost of life, and also the renting a flat, an apartment. It's very expensive, and we have to also work on halfway solutions, halfway housing for many people who are in this particular moment of reintegrating into society.
Thank you. Jean-Hugues, would you like to say something about it?
Yes, a few words, maybe. Yes, in fact, negative experience can happen from time to time, especially when you're introducing a new program, of course. In our experience, there are also some municipalities who may worry that such initiatives might attract more people in precarious situation on their area. And however, we try to address this issue by maintaining an open communication and demonstrating in the long term the benefits for the people. So it's
knowledge and communication, as far as I understood. You all agree on this fact. I have an additional question that is about the risks of technological exclusion, because I saw, for example, Tapage has an app. And I'm wondering whether then people have devices to use this app, or if you had any case of how do you reach the real difficult population that can really be excluded by these tools?
Well, I've read this question, but I think that I mostly threaten jobs that require higher level of education or training. That's not the focus of Tapage. Tapage is an arm reduction program, and our goal is not to guarantee a long-term career or traditional job setting. Instead, we provide an immediate low-barrier work opportunities, and it's all about harm reduction, all about empowerment. It's not about a job in long term.
Oriol, do you have, because you were mentioning about e-learning opportunities, that is very interesting.
Yes, I think that maybe Manuel knows more because this Omega Next project, right, also has incorporated an objective to fight against the digital breach, right?
Exactly. What we found when we were developing this project in the past years is that there is a very important need to focus on these digital skills. You may know about the DigiComp. This is an European skills, and these ones are the ones that we want to teach to our users, to the people that are into the Insola project, because we find that it's essential to have these kind of skills if we want to look for a job in the future. The kind of works that are going to be developed probably in the next few years, most of them are going to be into digital things, just like, for example, artificial intelligence, things like that. And we have to, we have to improve our projects in that way. Not only in Sola, all of our projects. That's the way we are working right now.
Of course. Tony, would you like to comment? And then we look into the questions.
Nothing more to add. I mean, it hasn't come up as an issue for us. If anything, we need to engage more with technology around this subject, and it will be part of our work on our research to see how we do that. But I don't see it as a barrier at the moment, anyway, for the work that we're doing on co-production. Yeah.
Very good. Let's see. So there is one question from Manny Magliori, member of our management board from Greece. I'd like to ask the first speaker, Jean-Hugues, if the employers are prepared to give work to someone with addiction problems. So if I understood well, this is more about giving long-term contracts, so recruiting in their workforce in the future. What do you think? Is it the case?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Is it the employer are prepared to give work to some people? Yes.
Yes.
Well, in our experience, many employers are open to working with tapageurs and also, in fact, with people who have addiction problems. It's not. They understand that tapage is not just about providing a job. It's also about supporting young people through their challenges, in fact. So you have some employers that are not interesting, but there's a lot of employers. So we are looking to work with that many employers who are open. And
yes. Do you have people moving towards stable employment, from starting from tapage and then moving towards more stable employment?
Yes, as I said, approximately 55% of tapageurs left for more stable employment. Yes.
Good. What about the others? Would you like to comment on this question from many?
I'll just say from some experience of working with businesses that have employed people who have had a history of drug use, that they do understand, and they whilst it shouldn't become a burden to the employer, there has to be some understanding of equity in terms of supporting people to be able to fulfill the task. You know, so there is a little bit of helping the person from, say, Anna Liffey's perspective, for example, helping the person from the employer's perspective to support them, but recognizing the absolute value that the person brings to the job, but also that the impact, the profound impact that it has on the person, their wider life, their family life, their housing, their situation, you know, just reducing risks in their life is really important. So employers, policymakers, communities need to invest and to listen to people who use drugs and to figure out together how best they can be brought along and employed and such. Would be great. Yeah.
Thank you. Any comment from Spain?
If I understood well, the person who's posing the question is from Greece, right?
Yes.
So just sharing my empathy because Greece and Spain have similar issues and struggling with this systemic unemployment. So I can understand. Yes.
Thank you. And then there are a series of questions from Rui Coimbra, who is founder of one people who use drug organization here in Portugal, and that is one of our networks of people. And I try to read, given the ongoing transitions on the world with automation and now with artificial intelligence, the employability will be more difficult to achieve for everyone. And so the meaning and social representations around labor as a fundamental identity area will also change, because there will not exist jobs for everyone. And given the sometimes rebel profile of people who use drugs, do you see the idea of always trying to normalize people that use drugs, in this case regarding the capacity to keep along with the time of normal job? Not easy, and probably more a comment than of a question. I don't know if you want to comment.
I know Rui really well. we've all said we start out from the position of what the person wants. Nobody is forcing. Well, we're certainly not forcing people to do. And I don't think anybody here is suggesting that either. So it's about the motivation of the person. It's about supporting their self-identified goals. And if they want to get work, our point is, I think, is that employers should support them, and we should support them to achieve that goal, and not simply say no. You use drugs and you can't have a job. So yeah, I know where Louis is coming from, but I think it's important to say that it is when the person is looking for a job, for employment, for a meaningful occupation. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's see, there was another question. Jesus Moran, another friend. Thank you, Jean-Hugues. Very interesting tapage. Are there any problems with the national, regional, local employment rules or with unions because of this kind of alternative work? I think, Jean-Hugues, you partially answered already, but you might take this opportunity to reinforce some of your messages.
I don't think so. There is a simple response. Answer. Sorry. So we have to meet Jesus with pleasure and look about the different local employments and difficulties we can see together.
Good invitation. So we are going towards the end of our webinars. We have still 15 minutes. I don't know if there are more questions from the public or even among yourself, if you want to comment more on each other intervention. From my point of view, we are at a very important moment in our agency. We are setting the foundations for a new trajectory thanks to the new mandate we have been given. And for example, in our sector, we are creating new projects, some oriented to collecting curricula for training of professionals, including training of trainers. Another project is aimed at creating an e-learning platform for professionals that cannot travel but still want to keep pace with the experience of other colleagues. And there will be one additional launch this year about quality standards, so how to organize quality systems. I can see your initiatives sitting well in all of these initiatives because it is of interest for other colleagues in other countries learn how to implement similar projects, maybe stepwise building on similar initiatives. I see you can create framework to help other colleagues to shape their interventions and definitely to have e-learning experiences for sharing and learning from each other. So if you don't have any other comments, final statements, I think we thank you. And we will keep in contact to make sure we are making the best out of this multi-language, multicultural experience. Please say something if you want to.
Anybody? Okay. I'll just sort of wrap up by saying that low threshold employment is absolutely important, and the stability and the purpose and social connection of low threshold employment is essential for people who use drugs and people who are stable and people who are in recovery. I think there's a continuum there that employment must play a part in. That for our part, the vision is to have co-production amongst low threshold services, so playing our part, not just private business as well. And certainly, I think I've said it already, but I'll say it as a wrap-up is, the role of employers and policymakers and communities is to invest in this and to listen to people who use drugs, and I think that involving and compensating people who use drugs creates safer and healthier communities. So that's my wrap-up anyway. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to say something?
Well, thank you very much. Of course, employment is not the only component of social integration, but today we are speaking on employment, which is essential. It's essential. It's not the only one, and we appreciate this opportunity to share this project with you. So we're at your disposal to keep on informing more outside this event at any time. Thank you very much, Marika, and all your colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you. Jean-Hugues, would you like also to say something to conclude this session?
Yes, I can only be agree with the response of my colleague, and yes, with the right partnership and local adaptations, I believe that low threshold employment can positively impact vulnerable youth, in fact, in other countries as well. So let's make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to give a special thank to Anna Ferrara, who is at her first webinar. She managed perfectly, and she only joined our agency less than 1 month ago, so it was the real baptism of the big audience. Marco Costa from IT, initiator of these webinars with me, always available to support new colleagues. And I will launch a poll for our public to tell us what to improve. The speakers don't need to remain if you have to go. In the meantime, we are receiving thank you on our chat. We are always happy to see that our clients are satisfied with our work. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you for the next webinar. Thank you.